To my channel, everyone. My name is Bilikis. Hope you've been good. Today's class will be on how to make this corset-like blouse. As you can see here, looking at the front, I just had to make a sketch, and this is what the back looks like. So it's going to be very detailed, and we will use a simple basic bodice pattern. Trust me. I'll also make a video on how to make a corset with just your simple basic bodice pattern. Yes, this year is going to be lit. So right now, I'm also going to lay emphasis on how you won't add excess fabric on this shoulder to the armhole area, as you can see here, because if you're not careful, you have a lot of fabric here which will be coming out of the armhole, which you won't like. So if today is your first time of checking out my channel, you're welcome. Please make sure you subscribe. You can check out my other channel, Pattern Drafting with Bilikis and Bilikis Kitchen. Follow me on Instagram, Bilikis Signatures, and on Facebook, Sewing Innovations. So right now, let's get started. This is the basic bodice pattern we drafted from our last class. You only see the only difference I have here is this new line I inserted, which is under the bust line, but every other thing is the same. This is the waistline, bust point line, chest line, and the dart of half an inch on both sides, and for a plus size you make it 3/4 inch on both sides, and that is all. I'm going to explain how I derive this under the bust line. All you have to do is to take your measuring tape from the nape of your shoulder and then measure to your under the ball, that is where the wire of your bra is. So that is the measurement you are going to take. So for her it is 13.5. so at that point make a line that is under the bust line. So that's all you need. So let's start drafting this lovely blouse we have here. So the first thing you're just going to do is to determine how low you want this middle part to be, and it varies. The minimum you could do depending on how much of your mammary gland you want to show off. So this is the chest line, so you can make it exactly on the chest line or just come down by half an inch. How low totally depends on your preference. So for me, I'll just make it half an inch below that chest line. As you can see that at that point you just go in by half an inch. For a normal or average woman, you just go in half an inch, but for a plus size, just add extra bar on your measuring tape to that half an inch. Don't do more than that. So that is it. Then you come to under the bust line, take the same measurement and insert at that point. Make a straight line. So that is the middle panel, the middle line. After doing that, we need to connect it in form of a corset. But there's just a little thing we have to do at that area. This is to give it some fitting and make it all snatch. What do? Here, we took in half an inch for the dart on the waistline. So we want to try as much as possible to eliminate any excess from the under the bust. So all you have to do is, since you have half an inch on both sides, so from this middle line, this bust pan line, you do 1/4 inch more than whatever dart you take on your waistline. So for instance, if you make use of 3/4 inch on both sides, that means on your under the bust, after this line, you make 1 inch on both sides. You don't need to add any extra measurement to the side, because it is not the same as the waist. So you just want to make it snatch. That is why all that is necessary. Here now, I will do 3/4 inch on both sides from the middle. This is the middle line, the bust spine line. So I'll place my measuring tape. 3/4 is here. 3/4 is here. Connect back to the waist. You see, so we have taken some measurement there. The next thing you are going to do is now to connect from that point, now from the underbust back to the apex of the dart. So that means we don't need this middle again. All this is going to be cut off. So can you see? After doing that, we can now curve out. So you make the curve starting from the under bust here to the bust point line. Let me see what we have. That's done. Then we'll come to this side to make the same thing. But looking at it, the curve goes straight into the side. So we are just going to make this curve in straight to the side. We just need to be careful how we connect that. So you can use your pencil first. Now, because you don't want to go out of this curve, that's why we just need to do this. It's very simple. From the armhole line, just connect straight down the first point. And then you can now take your armhole curve and connect. I don't know if it's visible. So good. We're still going to use the marker. It's just that I'm very careful of this underbust so that when if I just make a free curve, I don't want it outside this part, especially for this underneath. That was why I made do with that. The next thing now is to make the curve. Just measure about 1.5 or 1.5 here. So we're now going to make a curve from there into this very curve. So you can just measure about 1 inch as a guide. Go back to your pencil so that in case when you make any mistake, you can just adjust it. So let me just play around with it. I can use my free hand to just blend it in. Can you see this very part is very important so that you don't just go out of the curve. No. So that's what I have. So it is formed. Now we can just cut that off. But before we do that, we are just going to deal with the neckline. So for the neckline, I'll make the width 4 inches. So that will be 4 inches along the slope. And the depth, we already have the depth here. So just connect straight to the end here. Don't forget 1/2 inch shoulder seam allowance. And you see the pattern is ready. Then there are some things we just need to do. Now we have just altered some part here. So this will be cut off and then we'll be joining it back together. So just write 1/2 inch. So at those points you need to add 1/2 inch. All around we've already added seam allowance from our previous basic bodice pattern. So just this side, so that you won't forget. That is why I'm stressing that now. Also at the upper part here, you write 1/2 inch so that you don't forget. You also write on this very one 1/2 inch when you're cutting it out, 1/2 inch. That's all. Let me see that's the way I'm cutting that off. So the last one will be to cut this through. This is what we have. So this goes with this. So when you place it on your fabric, you only had 1/2 inch seam allowance to this point and to this point. And here, from this part, had 1/2 inch straight here. So can you see what this upper part looks like? We already have some allowances. All you have to do now is to add some excesses to it. So from this point, just place it to the shoulder. You're going to slit that through, and then you just take from here. I don't want to have more than one slit here to avoid excesses here. So you just take another line to somewhere around here. And then come here. I have a paper I'll be working with here. So first let's slit this off. So you won't be adding so much fabric to it. Why don't split it too much? When you come here and here, this is what we're going to have. See that I won't add so much allowances to it. Why? Because we already have enough allowances here and we don't want much fabric here so that it won't look funny. So just do something like half an inch. Then it depends on how busted that person is. Like for this person is not busty, so just half an inch opening here and here. And you see, just little. Except if you are busty, like for myself, I can make it up to 1 inch this way. But for this person, little. So make sure it's not more than half, not so much. It's little, just half an inch. Except you want more. That's what we have. So here we have to add half-inch seam allowance all around. So you can use your pencil and just eyeballing it. But when you're making yours, make sure you use your measuring tape. And cut it out. So this is what we have. So you can just remove this off and then you have the pattern. You can leave it either way. Looks like. So you are going to have to pleat this part. I would advise you to pleat. Instead of gathering it, when you pleat it, it's going to come out so nice. So this is it. And you just pleat this to go inside. So now let us cut off for the back. This is the normal basic bodies for the back we drew. Don't forget to come up at the back to eliminate any form of puffiness at all. Please ensure you watch the simple basic bodies pattern I just did. The link will be in the description box below. At the back, all you will just have to do is first to determine the yoke and then the neckline. So how low we want the yoke to be before we talk about the neckline. So I will make it about 1.5 below. You could make it up to 2. That totally depends on your preference. So let's just make it 1.5 here, and then you can connect it. I'm going to use my pattern master for that. So first I make a straight line, and then make a curve into it. That is the yoke. This will be the main fabric, and this will be the satin or net, any type you want to use. Another alteration we'll make here at the back to make it snatch, because it's going to have a loop. You can also have a zipper. If you're having a zipper, you just maintain this zipper allowance. So all you have to do is just come in 1/4 inch on both sides here. 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. From next straight to the end of the dart. All this elimination is to make it so fitted and snatched. Let me see, so this dart is going off. So don't forget to write 1/2 inch because we've had a seam allowance from our basic bodice class. But since we are cutting this part off, add 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, here to 1/2, here 1/2. So now let's go to the upper part. The upper part, the normal neckline we make is 1 inch for the back. Then what we did was 4 inches after the zipper allowance. You don't have to include that. Make it curve. So this is the zipper allowance. After doing this, we'll now determine the shape you want. You can even decide to use all this for the yoke if you want. We are just going to make some alteration like what we have at the back here. And you see the back. So this is the normal 1 inch depth. So we want to form this now. We've already formed this part, as you can see that here. So I'm just going to go in by, let's say 1 1/2. Now the wideness of these parts, you can just make it 1 1/2 so that by the time you sew it, it comes to 1 inch. So from that point, here you determine maybe from the armhole region, you can just maybe 1 inch. So you note that point. And then first you can use your pencil. Good. And you see how I form my yoke. So this is going to come out here. Because of the overlap, the button, the press button you are going to have. So here you can just make a curve. That's so easy. Don't forget your 1/2 inch shoulder seam allowance. And you see we have fully formed the yoke. So also here you need to add 1/2 inch because you'll be joining it back to the main dress. Don't forget that. Now let's go to the part where we have the loop. The loop, it depends on how much opening you want for that. So on the average, for the loop, you don't need the zipper allowance again. Note that. You just need 1/2 inch to join it to the lining. So this is not required. Now for the loop, all I have to do now is to go in by, it depends on how wide, but I think we can just make it 1 1/2 or 1 1/4 depending on how much opening you have. So let's just make it 1 1/4. 1 1/4, and from here 1 instead of the 1 1/4 you reduce it to about just 1 inch or 3/4 inch because you want it to be something like this. Let me show you how to cut that off. So by the time you join it up with 1/4 or 1/2 inch, it will be more wider. So that was why I just did 1 1/4. You can make it up to 1.5 to 2 inches depending on your preference. Back, this is the yoke and this is the knee. So now we can cut that off. So all this will just make the outfit snatch. Can you see? So we have, note the point where we have to add the 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, so this is what we will have. When you place on your fabric, you had 1/2 inch seam allowance here and here. You also had here and here. When you place this, it will also be on fold. You only had 1/2 inch seam allowance here and cut it through. These are ready for the outfit we have drafted here, and you can see it is pretty easy. All you have to do is to cut it on fold and then add the 1/2 inch seam allowance to where necessary using your normal basic bodice pattern. So for this front pattern, make sure you just plait it to fit into this cup. Yeah, when you plait it, it looks nice and you won't have any excess on the shoulder area whereby your armhole will be coming out. If this tutorial has been helpful, please give me a giant thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and for monthly online classes and for the sewing tools you see me use every now and then, use the number in the description box below to get in touch with us. Bye guys.